He won back-to-back elections and led the largest country in the world.
An overwhelming 86% of those leaving Russia are under the age of 45.
Putin claiming his highest ever victory.
But after decades of his leadership, the Russian Empire is finally coming to an end.
Tens of thousands of Russians have left the country.
Leaving Russia has surged, with the number surpassing 100,000 in 2022 alone.
After the beginning of the Ukraine war, more than 900,000 educated Russian citizens left the country in the first 12 months. Most importantly, around 70,000 of them were IT specialists, while the rest of them included businessmen, politicians, journalists, and even musicians who could have contributed heavily to its economy. On the other hand, the negative reaction from the world pushed Russia towards a level they never imagined, such as banning Russian aircraft in major countries and removing Russian-made products from the shelf with a clear message: "We've removed all Russian vodka from our store shelves and rallies.com. All vodka currently on shelf is non-Russian in origin," and even crashing its stock market by 33% and bringing the ruble to a record low. Russia's heading towards a crisis that it might never recover from. The experts are claiming that reconstruction on the land destroyed by the war would cost Russia between $100 and $200 billion, because restoring Mariupol alone is costing them $14 billion. So how close is Russia to the biggest collapse in history? And was declaring war against Ukraine one of his biggest mistakes? But before we dive in, make sure that you subscribe to the Borderline Wisdom channel. And if you've not already, hit that notification bell so that you never miss out on one of our episodes. So in April 2024, the UN financial agency IMF claimed that Russia was about to grow faster than all advanced countries in the world. By predicting a growth rate of 3.2%, it was astonishing how Russia would cross the 2.7 forecast growth rate of the US and less than 1% of the UK, Germany, and France. However, a few months later, the IMF now stated that they're planning to visit Russia to analyze and identify whether Russia's economy was growing or collapsing. Now, the reason behind this on-ground analysis is due to the fact that since the beginning of this war, Russian government has stopped publishing credible data. For example, trade data on its natural largest gas reserves, or how Russian industries are competing with the world. Fortunately, with one of the leading news agencies working on the ground, it seems the reality cannot be hidden for long. Recently, the Central Bank of Russia shattered all rumors by claiming that the Russian economy will grow only 0.5% to 1.5% next year, and in 2025 it could touch 1 to 2%. Why? Russia's not only used 80% of its production capacity, but is also severely hit with labor shortages in 3 major sectors. 1. The trading sector, which contributes around 41% to its GDP. The manufacturing sector, which contributes around 12% to its economy, and 3. The agriculture sector, which contributes to around 5%. That's around 58% of its GDP, where spaces with no workforce are haunting Putin every day. Now, it's not that Russia didn't try to fill the gap in labor shortage. In the first quarter of 2024, Russia increased wages by 19%, turned 100,000 prisoners into forced labor, and Putin even passed a new law where minors between the ages of 14 and 16 were allowed to work for 24 hours per week without obtaining the permission of their parents. However, all these strategies backfired in the form of dangerous inflation. At present, the inflation rate in Russia is above 9%, something that hasn't been witnessed since 2015. The situation became worse when Putin increased military spending by 29% every year to support the war. And this year, it's going to be $140 billion, which is 35% of the total government spending. As a result, the central bank has hiked interest rates to control inflation in every manner possible. But will it bring any support to their economy? Well, since the beginning of this war, the US has been the biggest supporter in defending Ukraine against Russia.
I've said before, Russia will not prevail in this war. Ukraine will prevail in this war, and we'll stand with them every single step of the way. That's what the compact says, loudly and clearly.
Spending more than $175 billion of its money in providing military, humanitarian, and financial support to the war-hit country. However, after a 21-year-old U.S. airman took the courage to leak these top-secret documents online,
New details on the leak of classified Pentagon documents.
By the last count, around 100 pages of classified slides and briefing materials from the Pentagon.
The potentially damaging leak of American intelligence secrets relating to the war in Ukraine.
it seems that all this time the US was determined to destroy the Russian economy by running Ukraine at its fingertips. Have a look at this Pentagon-leaked document that shows a detailed status of their war as of February 28th. With more than 100 US intelligence documents leaked, some of them clearly discuss how Ukraine's president communicates with his soldiers, and how Ukraine's at the edge of losing the war against Russia. The documents also talked about the status of US spies tracking the movements of other world leaders, showing a darker side of the US by keeping a suspicious eye on its allies.
We strongly regret that the top U.S. intelligence agency has been illegally spying on allies like our country,
and leaving the US scrambling with words to come clean in front of the world.
But we take this very seriously.
This is very concerning.
So we're taking this very, very seriously. There is no excuse for these kinds of documents to be in the public domain.
The Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified Pentagon documents online was in a Boston federal courtroom today.
They caught the leaker. It's 21-year-old Air National Guardsman.
US determination became more compelling when in October 2022, the German economy minister challenged Putin that they don't need to rely on Russia's cheap gas, and that Putin will definitely lose this war against Ukraine. Surprisingly, this decision was also taken after German companies faced economic sanctions from the US for increasing their dependence on cheap Russian gas. So, after cutting off energy ties with Russia, Germany joined hands with the United States for liquefied natural gas supplies, or LNG, despite being aware that US LNG prices are 40% higher than Russian gas. The Russian economy was hit the most when the US accounted for 80% of Germany's LNG imports. In consequence, Russian oil imports to the European Union have dropped from 21% in 2022 to just 1% in 2024. Sure, China is still one of the biggest fossil fuel importers from Russia. However, after meeting several times with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping is perfectly aware that Russia is now completely dependent on them. Most importantly, China's losing trust in Putin's ability to become a strong ally. For example, since the war, China's become the key supplier of Russia and has exported cars, raw materials, and enough gear to fight this war. Moreover, the trade between the two countries touched a record $240 billion. Yet, by November 2023, Russia owes around $130 billion to China, which is 7% of Russia's GDP. Not to mention, after cutting off the euro and dollar from international transactions, Putin's ego has transferred their economic power to China. As of June this year, 99.6% of the Russian foreign exchange market now consists of China's yuan. Even Russian corporate loans are dominated by the yuan. The situation has reached so far that the CEO of top Russian lender Sberbank has stated, "We cannot lend in yuan because we have nothing to cover our foreign currency positions with." So what are your views about the inevitable fall of Putin's new Russia? Do you think Putin should be removed as president? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the like button if you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching.